Good evening, all. We are going to start new series for the Azure Administrator. I will cover from the basic and then I'll go for the advanced. So, in prerequisite, uh, we will discuss about the cloud concept. Then we'll describe Azure architecture and services. Azure fundamental describe Azure management and governance. So Microsoft Azure fundamental, we are describing the cloud concept. Microsoft Azure fundamental is a three-part series that teach you basic cloud concept, provide a streamlined overview of many Azure services, and guides you with the hands-on exercise to deploy your every first service for free. So here is a basic introduction of the Azure fundamental. So, as a per PPT, Microsoft Azure is a cloud computing platform with an ever expanding set of services to help your build solution to meet your business goal. Azure services support everything from simple to complex. Azure has simple web services for hosting your business presence in the cloud. Azure also supports running fully virtualized computers, managing your custom software solution. Azure provides a wealth of cloud-based services like remote storage, database hosting, and centralized account management. Azure also offers new capabilities like artificial intelligence (AI) and Internet of Things (IoT) focused services. What is Azure Fundamental? So Azure Fundamental is a series of three learning paths that you familiar you with Azure and its many services and features. Whether you are interested in compute, networking, storage service, learning about cloud security best practices, or exploring governance and management options, think of Azure Fundamental as your curated guide to Azure. Azure Fundamental includes interactive exercises that give you hands-on experience with Azure. Many exercises provide a temporary Azure portal environment called the sandbox, which allows you to practice creating cloud resource for free at own place. Here one topic mentions sandbox. So sandbox is basically free tools provided by the Microsoft where you can implement the practices free of cost. Introduction to the cloud computing. In this model, we will learn to general cloud concept. We will start an introduction to the cloud in general. Then we will dive into concepts like shared responsibilities, different cloud models, and explore the unique principal method for the cloud. We are already familiar with the cloud computing. In this model may be largely review for you. What is cloud computing? This is the small explanation about the cloud computing. Cloud computing, the delivery of computing services over the internet. Means the first line saying cloud computing is the delivery of computing services over the internet. Means whatever service you require, it will be delivered only on the internet. Without internet it won't be work. Suppose you want to create a PC and you want to access, in that scenario you need the internet. Computing services include common IT infrastructure such as virtual machine, storage, database, and networking. Uh, in under the Azure, in the computer services, Many things are include in IT infrastructure, such as virtual machine. Means whatever infrastructure you are dealing with the regular basis as on premises, everything you will find there, but in virtual format. Means you can access, you can work, but you can't touch it. Cloud service also expanding the traditional IT offering to include things like Internet of Things, IoT, machine learning, ML, and artificial intelligence (AI). Because cloud computing uses the internet to deliver these services, it does not have to constrained by physical structure. The same way that a traditional data center is. That means if you need to increase your IT infrastructure rapidly, you don't have to wait to build a new data center. You can use the cloud to rapid expand your IT footprint. Here I am giving you a simple example. Suppose you have you have a server running on the cloud. You want to increase your disk, so it will take only 5 to 10 minutes to increase your disk space and disk, while in a physical infrastructure it will take around 1.5 hours to increase the hard disk. Here we are discuss about the shared responsibilities model. You may have heard for of the shared responsibility model, but you may not understand what it means or how it impact cloud computer. Means you might be many time listen about the shared responsibility, but uh, how it is and how it impact on cloud computing, we don't know. Start with traditional corporate data center. We are starting the first point from the traditional corporate center. How data center are designed under the corporate data center. The company is responsible for maintaining the physical space. First thing, company only the company will be responsible for the maintain the physical space, ensuring security and maintaining or replacing the server if anything happens. If anything goes wrong, then this is the company responsibility to improve and replace the part. The IT department is responsible for maintaining all the infrastructure and software needed to keep the data center up and running. What IT department responsibility is? He will maintain the infrastructure and he will install the software uh, which need to keep the data center up and running. Means whatever software required to running the data center, IT will install it. They are also likely to respond for keeping all system patch and the correct version. With the shared responsibility model, these responsibility get shared between cloud provider and the consumer. If we are talking about the shared responsibility model, means these responsibility means replacing the hard disk, installing the software. This responsibility will with the shared will the service provider. Means some points of some parts of aspect will be covered by the cloud provider and some will be covered by the consumer. Physical security, power cooling, and network connectivity are the responsible of the cloud provider. Means any physical security, power cooling, and network connectivity. Means if you are taking any VM from the Azure, so Azure security and the how simply VM will not on until they haven't the power and the network connectivity. You can't access if there is no network connectivity. So this will maintain by the service provider whatever you are using, Azure or AWS. The consumer agent collected the data center. So we are described the share responsibility models. As you may have heard of the share responsibility model, but you may not understand that it means or how it impact cloud computing. We are starting with traditional corporate data center. The company is responsible for maintaining the physical, ensuring security and maintenance, maintaining or replacing the server if anything happen. The IT department is responsible for maintaining all the infrastructure and software needed to keep the data center up and running. They are also likely to be responsible for keeping all system patches and on the correct version. With the shared responsibility model, these responsibility get shared between the cloud provider and the consumer. Physical security, power cooling, and network connection are the responsibility of the cloud provider. The consumer isn't collected with the data center, so it wouldn't make sense for the consumer to have any of these responsibility. Means if you are purchasing VM from the cloud, you are not directly connected with the Azure data center. So this is not a responsibility to maintain these things like uh, power cooling, network connectivity, and etc. At the same time, the consumer is responsible for the data and information stored in the cloud. What are consumer responsibility? Consumer responsibility only is uh, store only for the data which he is storing on the cloud. You wouldn't want the cloud provider to be able to read your information. The consumer is also responsible for access security, meaning and you give access to those who need it. Then for the something, the responsibility depend on the situation. If you are using a cloud SQL database, the cloud provider would be responsible for maintaining the actual database. However, you are still responsible for the data that get ingested into the database. If you deploy a virtual machine and install an SQL database on it, you had be responsible for database patches and updates, as well as maintaining the data and information stored in the database. With an on-premises data center, you are responsible for everything. With the cloud computing, those responsibilities shift. The shared responsibility model is heavily tied into cloud service types covered later. Infrastructure as a service IaaS, platform as a service PaaS, and software as a service SaaS. So infrastructure as a service places the most responsibility on the consumer, with the cloud provider being responsible for the basis of physical security, power, and connectivity. On the other end of the spectrums, software as a service SaaS place most of the responsibility with the cloud provider, and PaaS being a middle ground between infrastructure as a service and software as a service, rest somewhere in the middle, and every distribute responsibility between the cloud and the consumers. So here is the some example of the share responsibility. The below diagram highlight how the share responsibility model informs who is responsible for what depending on the cloud types. So the the blue icon shows the consumer responsibility, and this is responsible from the Microsoft, and this is showing the indication that is here. I'm again explaining this the entire thing where cursor is moving, responsible of the customer. Now the cursor is moving. This is totally responsible from the Microsoft, and this is the share responsibility. So responsibility always retained by the customer. If we are starting from on premises, in the on premises scenario, for the every and single thing only the customer or company is responsible for that. So in the infrastructure as a service means the three things means physical host, physical network, and the physical data center are responsibility of the Microsoft or Azure. Apart from that, apart from that, all operating system, network control, application, identity and directory infrastructure, account and identities, device and mobile and PC information or data are responsible for customer is responsible. If I am going for the platform as a service, then information and data will be a device and mobile and PC, account and identities. These three are customer responsible for these three. Identity and direct infrastructure, this is the share half of the part responsibility taken by the Microsoft and half of the responsibility taken by the user. Application, the same scenario. Network is also the same, and the operating system, physical host and physical network data center, it will be totally responsible. Azure is responsible and Microsoft is responsible. If we are talking about the SaaS, information and data consumer is responsible. Device, for the devices, consumer is responsible. Account and identities, consumer is responsible. Identity and directory infrastructure, this is the share by the both Microsoft and consumer. For the application, network, operating system, physical host, physical network and data center, for these things only the Microsoft are responsible. So shared responsibility model, you will always be responsible for the information and data stored in the cloud. Describe that are allowed to connect to your cloud, cell phone, computer, and so on. The account and identities of the people, service, and devices within your organization. The cloud provider is always responsible for the physical data center, the physical network, the physical host. And your service model will determine responsibility for these things like operating system, network control, application, identity, and infrastructure. Define. We are describing the cloud model. So the cloud model defines the deployment type of cloud resource. The three main cloud models are private, hybrid, and public. What is private cloud? A private cloud is in some ways the nature evolution from the corporate data center. It is a cloud delivering IT services over the internet that is used by a single entity. Private cloud provides much greater control for the company and its IT data center. However, it also comes with the greater cost and fewer of the benefits of a public cloud deployment. Finally, private cloud may be hosted from your own site data center. It may also be hosted in a dedicated data center offsite, potentially even by a third party that had dedicated and data center to your company. So private we can design the private cloud for our own company like IBM and other big companies are designing private cloud for the uh, own company. So second is the public cloud. A public cloud is built, controlled and maintained by a third party cloud provider. With the public cloud, anyone that want to purchase cloud services can access and use resources. The general public availability is key difference between public and private cloud. Means the public cloud is available for everyone to purchase and use, and private cloud is not only available for those company who is uh, deploying the private cloud. What is hybrid cloud? Hybrid cloud is a computing environment that use both public and private cloud in an interconnected environment. A hybrid cloud environment can be used to allow a private cloud to search for increase temporary demanded by deploying public cloud resources. Hybrid cloud can be used to provide an extra layer of security. For example, user can flexible choose with which services to keep in public cloud and which to be deploy on the private cloud. So here is the table which is describing about the public cloud, private cloud, and hybrid cloud. Public cloud, no capital expenditure to scale up. Private cloud, organization have complete control over resources and security. Hybrid provide the most flexibility. In the private cloud, application can quickly provision and deprovision. Organization pay only for what they use. Organization don't have complete control over the resource and security. Under the private cloud, organization have complete control over resource and security. Data is not collected with the other organization data. Hardware must be purchased for startup and maintenance. Organizations are responsible for hardware maintenance and updates. Provide hybrid cloud provide the most flexibility. Organization determine where to run the application. Organization controls security, compliance, or legal requirements. So cloud model or multi-cloud. A fourth and increasable likely scenario is a multi-cloud scenario. In a multi-cloud scenario, you use multiple public cloud provider. Maybe you use different feature from different cloud provider, or maybe you started your cloud journey with one provider and are in the process of migrating to a different provider. Regardless, in a multi-cloud environment, you deal with the two or more public cloud provider and manage resource and security in both environment. Azure Arc is a set of technologies that help manage your cloud environment. Azure Arc can help manage your cloud environment, whether it's public cloud slowly on Azure or private cloud in your data center, a hybrid configuration, or even a multi-cloud environment running on the multiple cloud provider at once. Azure VMware solution. What if you are already established with VMware in a private cloud environment, but you want to migrate to public or hybrid cloud? Azure VMware solution let you run your VMware workload in Azure with seamless integration and scalability. So this is the consumption-based model described when comparing IT infrastructure model. There are two types of expense to consider: capital expenditure and the operation expenditure. Capex and OPEX. We are calling two form capex and OPEX. Capex is typically a one-time upfront expending to purchase or secure tangible resource, a new building, repaying up the parking lot, building a data center, or buying a company vehicle are example of capex. As we are deploying a company, whatever you are purchasing to deploy a company, it will comes under capex. In contrast, OPEX is spending money on services or product over time, renting a convention center, leasing a company vehicle, or signing up cloud services. All are example OPEX. So for the running capex, we have to expend the OPEX money, means the running cost. Cloud computing fall under OPEX because cloud computing operate on a consumption based model. uh, Means cloud computing comes under the OPEX because you are not going to give any single rupees for the deploying the platform to the platform uh, to Azure and AWS. So you are paying only those services you are using on the cloud. Means that is on consumption based. With cloud computing, you don't pay the physical infrastructure, the electricity, the security, or anything else associated with maintaining a data center. Instead, you pay for it resource for use. If you don't use the IT resources this month, you don't pay for any IT resources. The consumption-based model has many benefits, including no upfront cost, no need to purchase and manage cost infrastructure that users might not use to its full potential. The ability to pay for more resources when they are needed. The ability to stop paying for resources that are no longer needed. With a traditional data center, you are trying to estimate the future resource needs. If you are overestimate, you are spend more on your data center than you need to any potential waste money. If you are underestimate, your data center will quickly reach capacity and more application and services may suffer from decreased performance. Flexing and under provision data center can take a long time. You may need to order, receive, and install more hardware. You will also need to add the power, cooling, and the networking extra hardware. In the cloud-based model, you don't have to worry about getting the resource need just right. If you find you need more virtual machine, you add more. If the demand drops and to you need as many virtual machine, you remove virtual machine as needed. Either 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 way, you are only paying for the virtual machine that you use, not the extra capacity that the cloud provider has on hand. Compare cloud pricing model. So cloud computing is the delivery of computing service over the internet by using pay as a go pricing model. You typically pay only for the cloud services you use, which help you plan and manage your operating cost, run your infrastructure more efficiently, scale as your business needs change. To put it another way, cloud computing is way to rent compute power and storage from the someone else's data center. You can treat cloud resources like you would resource in your own data center. However, unlike in your data center, when you have done using cloud resources, you give them back. You are billed only for what you use. Instead of maintaining CPU and storage in your data center, you rent them for the time that you need them. The cloud provider takes care of maintaining the underlying infrastructure for you. The cloud enable you to quickly solve your toughest business challenge and bring cutting edge solution to your user. So thank you. Now the introduction of the cloud computing, the cloud model has finished now. Next